Lease purchase. What are the pros and cons? Are you going to get rich doing it? Let's stick around and find out. I'll give you some info about it. Alright guys, so obviously you're sticking around to learn about lease purchase programs. So let's get into it. One of the biggest things you need to remember is you're responsible for that truck payment, and it is always due when it's due. So if you've had a low mileage week, you spent some time in the shop, and that's caused your paycheck to be small, you're still responsible for it. Some of these truck payments could be as expensive as $1,500 a week. I said a week, not a month. That's a lot. That really is. Some companies will allow you to defer your payment. Some companies will only charge you a base pay on top of mileage. That can help sometimes it can't. One of the other things you need to remember as well is you're responsible for all fees associated with that truck. So when I say fees, I'm talking fuel, I'm talking tires, maintenance, escrow, permits, all that. You're responsible for everything when it comes to that truck. So you also need to keep that in mind when it comes to it, that you may make $5,000 that week. Cool, you made $5,000, but then you have to deduct everything out of there. And that $5,000 could turn into $400, $500, $600 a week. Then you still have to pay taxes, and you're not paying taxes on your net, you're paying taxes on your gross. So you're going to pay taxes on that $5,000 you made that week. The cool thing that you have though is you could deduct all expenses off of it. You deduct fuel, any type of maintenance, you could deduct your phone payment. If you have to go buy shirts while you're on the road, you deduct that. Keep all your receipts, because that could actually save you as well. So here are some prime examples of trucks that you could check out on a lot. So when they take you out to go look at trucks and you decide on the one you're going to buy, it's going to be on a lot like this. They're going to tell you, hey, these are the trucks that we got, take a look, let us know what you want. As you can tell, they're all Freightliners. The main difference between the two is just the color. You have the Kenworth over there, and in different companies you'll have the occasional Freightliner, Volvo, Peterbilt, Mack, some Kenworth, stuff like that. It all depends on the company that you work for or potentially want to go work for. So the main issue that you're going to have with trucks like these is they are not necessarily high mileage. You're looking at 500,000 to 600,000 miles, which in a car is absurd. In a semi-truck, it's about average. Most companies are going to retire their trucks around 500,000 to 600,000 miles, because that's usually about when the warranty expires on them. But what you have to be careful with is, how did the driver take care of their truck? Did the driver maintain their truck? As in, did he check the oil? Did he do the pre-trip? Was he reporting issues with the truck on time? You may have a driver who religiously took his truck in every time an oil change popped up, every time a service popped up where it said, hey, you need to bring it in to get everything lubed up. You might have that one driver that says, screw that, it's not my job, and go 20, 30,000 miles over it. Could damage the engine. He could have also constantly ran it low on oil too, which could very well damage the engine. So that's something you kind of want to be very aware of. You always want to ask and see what the service reports on the truck are, and you always want to see what the accident reports on the truck are. So keep that in mind when you're out on the back lot looking at these trucks. Alright guys, now that you've gotten an idea of what it'd be like to go look at some trucks on a lot, let's take a look at some companies and see what we'd be expecting. Start with, you got US Express. You need 1 year of OTR experience. Their lease requires no down payment, no credit check, and they all come with a 500,000 mile warranty. It's mainly going to be for new trucks. They offer a walkaway lease, which means after you sign your paperwork, you decide, hey, not making money, this isn't working out. Walk away, no repercussions to you. They offer 2018 to 2020 Cascadias, and they pay between $1 to $2 per mile plus fuel surcharge. Could be good pay, could be bad pay. It all depends on what your truck payment is. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any information on what their truck payments would be. So, let's go look at Swift. Once again, 0 down payment, no credit check. They do their leasing through a third-party company, which means you can find a lot more trucks. So instead of being stuck to Freightliners or Kenworths, you can go in there and find Freightliner, Kenworth, Volvos, Internationals, mainly a lot of the bigger major brands, and you can find the truck that you want. You may go in there and see a International Lone Star that you've always wanted. you can find it there. They offer new and used equipment, and they offer a load board. That load board can be a lifesaver. It could also be hell. Load boards are good, and they're also bad. The cool thing about them is you can pick and choose your own loads, but sometimes by the time you get on that load board, all the other loads are already picked over, all the good ones, so you might be stuck doing some short hauls. Kind of keep that in mind. I couldn't find any information on what their truck payments are or what their pay is, so we're going to go and keep that part out. The next one that we can look at is John Krishner Trucking, or JCT. You might see them going down the road. They were just bought out by, I believe it was Hirschbach, earlier this year or later last year. I can't remember exactly when it was. But these guys offer 2021 to 23 Cascadias. They give you $1,000 orientation pay, $500 after your first load, and $500 after your second. They'll cover your permits, your base plates, and your IFTAs. Kind of help you out a little bit. Sometimes it's kind of the most minimalistic of costs, but as a startup, it'll help you out a lot. The requirement is to have 6 months OTR, and at Pilot Flying J Loves, they're going to give you a 15-cent fuel rebate. So their pay is up to $1.70 per mile, and it starts out at $1.20 base pay plus your fuel surcharge, and that's going to vary week by week. Sometimes it'll be higher, sometimes it'll be lower. But they're also factoring in your safety bonus of 2 cents per mile, and that's paid out quarterly. So earlier when I was talking about your truck payment, this is kind of where it's going to come in. Your base truck payment is going to be $120 a week. So you factor that in. If you don't run any miles that week, all you owe is $120. That's going to be your base pay. But then you're also going to pay 26 cents per mile. So you got to factor that in. However many miles you run, you want to take 26 cents off that to make sure you're covering your truck payment. It's good and bad at the same time. So that means that if you had a really slow week, it's going to be a little helpful. But you have to still remember, you're still paying for your insurance, your escrow, your maintenance, all that. So 120 is your base on the truck, plus whatever all your other fees are. Keep that in mind. Roll Transportation is another one of them. And they have 20 to 24 trucks. I believe they're all Cascadias as well. Their payment ranges between $625 and $850 a week. Could be a pretty big amount of money right there. The way they pay their drivers is on a sliding scale. So with van, reefer, and curtain side trailers, it starts out at $1.51 at, I think it's 500 miles or below, or they might $4.99 below, whatever it is, up to $1.11 a mile. Sorry, as low as $1.11 a mile, the higher you get up in the mileage. They pay empty miles at 90 cents per mile. For flatbed, it starts out at $1.46 per mile and goes down to $1.24 per mile. And that's as the mileage goes up, your pay goes down. And that's going to be, once again, 90 cents per mile empty, plus your fuel surcharge. CRST is another one of them. Once again, 0 down payment, no credit check, but they do offer a $4,000 sign-on bonus. That can really help you out in the start. It really, really can. You're going to be paid 70% of your loads. So if your truck makes $1,000 a week, which it should make a hell of a lot more than that. If your truck makes $1,000 a week, you're getting $700 of that. They say you could possibly get between $7,000 and $10,000 gross pay. Maybe, maybe not. Guys, you gotta remember you're picking up that fuel surcharge. So Prime Inc.'s the last one that I wrote down, and this one has 2 different types of leases. All right. Prime Inc. has a standard lease, which is 0 down, no credit check, and they offer 2019 and up Freightliner, Peterbilts, and Internationals. Always nice to have a variety of trucks, I'll admit that. Your truck payment starts out at $978 a week. Your permits are $100 per week, and you get breakdown pay, which is pretty good for a lease driver. And your breakdown pay is $225 after 24 hours, and that's every 24 hours. The second one they offer is lease purchase. and that's going to be completely different from the standard lease. So the lease purchase requires a $14,000 down payment, and you need to pay $1,000 due at the time of the order of the truck, and then you're required to take the $13,000 that you owe and bring that in and pay that at the time of signing. Your truck payment's going to range between $900 and $1,000 per week. So with all that being said, guys, would I suggest lease purchase? I probably wouldn't. The biggest reason why is most of the time, after your taxes, your expenses, and everything, you're going to be making about what a company driver makes, if not maybe $300-400 more a week. You also have to pay your taxes. W-2 is a lot easier sometimes, especially if you don't file quarterly. That can end up in a lot of tax penalties, all that. You have to save all your receipts and everything, and yeah, you might make a decent amount of money after you save your receipts, get your refund and all that. It might be for you. If you like running hard, you like running that 3,500 miles a week, it's great. Right now, though, we're in a freight shortage. As much as many people want to say that we're not, we definitely are. Most of the time right now, I'm getting between 2,000 and 2,500 miles per week. It's been about my average lately. But last week I got 3,000 miles a week. Made my paycheck pretty big, but that's been the unicorn lately. So keep that in mind. I really wouldn't suggest it. I've done it myself before. Wasn't a fan of it. Didn't make very good money. But I did do owner-operator. I bought my own truck before and ran under C.R. England's authority and made good money doing that. I also had a buddy of mine who owned a truck, and we ran together for FedEx Custom Critical and made really good money with that. But both instances, the truck was owned outright. A lot of the time, lease purchases are going to be very expensive, and most of the time, the only thing you're doing is you're paying the company the privilege of using their truck. A lot of the times, that's all it is. You're basically making the truck payment for the company while they're just banking off your back. So keep that in mind. I wouldn't suggest it. I don't think it's something that you should go into, especially if you're a new driver. A lot of these companies you're going to go to, especially if you're coming out of CDL training school, they're going to tell you, oh man, no force dispatch, you could do whatever, the truck's yours. Cool. That's how they're going to get you. It's not really worth it. Do your research, and if you do decide to go into it, make sure you read that contract. Read that thing thoroughly. If you have a friend who's a lawyer, family member who's a lawyer, read it with them. Let them go through it. Let them tell you the ins and outs of it, because you might not see something that they might catch. If a company tells you, oh, you have to read it here, or no, you have to sign it now, don't sign it. That contract is a contract. Even though some of these places have walkaway leases, it might say in that contract it's a walkaway lease, but you still owe X amount after that walkaway or whatever. So make sure you really, really, really read through it thoroughly. Don't just sign it all willy-nilly and be all happy, because next you know, you might be locked in for 2 or 3 years, and you're not going to be happy doing that. So that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.